Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. Of a truth, the harsh reality is beginning to stare us all in the face. Whether we like it or yes, looking into issues with an objective mind is one thing. Then looking at it with bigotry in our heart is another thing. Right now, even the North are beginning to align to the harsh reality. As just in a moment, you're going to get information how former military governor of Kaduna State is telling Nigerians, not just Nigerians, also the presidency and his northern brothers, the truth the way it is, hardcore. But before we go into the news proper to find out what it is he said about Nnamdi Kanu, about the security situation, and where they stand, and this unity of this country, restructured or not, like and subscribe to our channel. If you by clicking on the red subscribe button beside it, you see bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Well, the former military governor of Kaduna State, Colonel Abubakar Dagiwa Omar, has said President Muhammadu Buhari's government has exhibited poor skills in managing the diversity in the country. In a statement entitled Nigeria Nation Challenged and made available on Wednesday, Dangiwa said that it is my long-held belief that this country is more beneficial to all the federating units if only because it provides a security umbrella to all its units. On the rearrest of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Dangiwa said the recent rearrest of Nnamdi Kanu was greeted with loud sigh of relief and celebration in some sections of the country. It also elicited congratulatory messages to the federal government, which appears overwhelmed by the intractable security challenges and their need of any redeeming act. This is clearly an exaggeration of the security threat Nnamdi Kanu and indeed IPOB pose to our nation's security and unity. Hear that. I will take that again for emphasis. So this is clearly an exaggeration of the security threat Nnamdi Kanu and indeed IPOB pose to our nation's security and unity. He now continued. He said, it is quite strange and disturbing that the federal government is according undue attention to the threat of separatist movement in contrast to the more daunting ones posed by bandits, kidnappers, and insurgents in the northwest, some part of north central, and northeast. Activities of those criminals have resulted in the evacuation of over 20% of the villages in the northwest and northeast. Hundreds have been murdered and maimed every week. Nnamdi Kanu is a problem. Many more are kidnapped for ransom. Millions have been rendered internally displaced, facing disease and starvation. Over 1,000 school children were abducted in the past 8 months, with over 300 still in the hands of the bandits and kidnappers, demanding homogeneous ransom payment. Rape of women, young girls has become a daily occurrence. More economic activities, particularly farming, which is the mainstay of the people in those areas, are now all but impossible. Hard truth. Let's continue. Government earlier claim of having technically defeated Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast has turned out to be empty propaganda. You see, when the truth is facing us in the face, we cannot deny it. Propaganda is one thing, but the harsh reality is another thing entirely. But let's continue what another now former governor and also a former military person. Let's continue. So contrary to this claim, the enemy has metamorphosized into a more determined and deadly force, threatening to overrun the whole of the northeast. And they're in southeast doing what there when that northeast is already rampaged. Now they're beginning to speak up. Let us continue. It's plenty. The average northerner living in these zones who is barely aware of the activities of separatists, banditry, kidnapping, and insurgents are of greater threat and concern to him. Which means, to him, separatists is not important. It is banditry and kidnapping that is paramount to the northerner that is living in the north. The arrest of Nnamdi Kanu is of no serious consequences, since it does nothing to ameliorate his harsh and brutal condition. In recognition or reasserting the right of every citizen or group to express their desire for self-determination, one does not support or condone the use of violence for such purpose. IPOB and its leader may well be responsible for some of the violence, including the murder of security personnel, arson, and destruction of public and private properties, for which they should be held to account. We must, however, be honest enough to identify the cause of the current growing restiveness in the southeast. By all means, government needs to deploy non-violent means in addressing the problem. It is self-evident that justice, fairness, equity are the best means of building a united and vibrant nation, particularly one as diverse and fragile as Nigeria. It is my long held belief that this country is more beneficial to all the federating units, if only because it provides a security umbrella to all its units. None of them will fare better in a balkanized Nigeria due to their similar diversities. The recognition of Nigeria as a giant of Africa is not an account to all. It's not an account of its huge oil wealth, but its size, diversity, as well as other potential. This notwithstanding, the nation can only remain united, will only remain united and prosperous when all its citizens and the component part feel a true sense of belonging. So true. Now you understand why the likes of Sunday Igbo and Nnamdi Kanu are agitating, because they don't feel that sense of belonging. But let's continue what he said. He said, truth be told, the Buhari government has so far exhibited poor skills in its management of our diversity, yet it has the benefit of great examples by past administrations and statesmen which should guide it. After our bitter civil war, the then head of the federal military government, General Yakubu Gowon, declared a no victor, no vanquish reconciliation and reintegration policy. Its implementation may not have been perfect, but it produced a guiding vision which served as a template for the reintegration of the nation. In 1978, 80 years after the civil war, the MPN presidential candidate Alhaji Shehu Shagari, a former commissioner for finance in the Gowon government, picked his running mate Dr. Alex Ekweme from the southeast. They won the 1979 presidential election and enjoyed an enviable brotherly relationship as president and vice president. They won the second term in 1983. The President Shagari's government pardoned the former Biafran secessionist leader, Chief Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, which permitted him to return from exile in 1982. He went on to contest a senatorial seat under the MPN. These are in sharp contrast to the declaration of President Buhari after his election in 2015, in which he promised not to treat on equal terms those who gave him only 5% of their votes with those who gave him over 97% of their votes. This may account for his government's refusal to appoint Igbos as head of any security services. A review of this ill-advised policy will go a long way to neutralize the growing influence of IPOB among Igbo, both home and in diaspora. The federal government must go beyond the arrest of Kanu and pay greater attention to the more serious security challenges threatening to cripple the country completely. The apparent failure of our security forces to deal decisively, as the president so often commands them to do, with these security threats is obviously due to the acute shortage of manpower and equipment. These deficiencies have resulted in the thin spread of our forces and lack of timely rotation in the areas of conflict. Government must massively increase security manpower and equipment. As we have seen, mere change of service chief would appear far from being the solution. So hard, so true. But then the question is, would they listen?